Hey, soccer fans, and welcome to Sons of a Pitch Soccer Central's MLS betting picks and predictions show. It is Wednesday, August 31st, and we are picking games for this weekend, September 3rd through 4th, here in Major League Soccer. Now, before we dive into the odds and my predictions for the weekend, let's set a little context here, right? There are midweek games going on right now. The Chicago Fire, my hometown team, are playing New England to a 0-0 draw as we speak, and there is action all around the league. So make sure that you look at the rotated squads, that you look at injuries, red cards, teams who need to rotate players in order to make that final playoff push. Because as we know, there's only a few short weeks left in the regular season, and there are a bunch of teams battling for those last few playoff spots. One other thing to keep in mind, too, that we noticed last week was every game had an over or under of 2.5 goals scored. The one exception was Austin versus LAFC. That had 3.5 goal line for the over and under there. And they hit the over on that one. 5 goals in that game. So if you're looking to maybe sneak a value play in and maybe you're not too sure about your pick'ems, definitely look at those over-under lines. I will also caution you, the MLS's website also brings odds in from BetMGM. They haven't updated their odds yet for this upcoming slate of games. Maybe over on BetMGM they do, but they haven't imported them to the MLS odds site yet, probably because of all of the current action going on. So make sure you keep that in mind. Also, keep in mind our betting quote of the week coming from Irish playwright George Bernard Shaw, where he says, "In gambling, the many must lose in order that the few may win." So let's hope that you're one of the few winners this upcoming week as we look at the games as presented here by PointsBet's website. Now let's take a look. The first game that we have up is Minnesota United hosting FC Dallas. Now Minnesota's the favorite at minus 108, but Dallas and the draw are relatively the same odds at plus 270 and plus 280. Now, I'm trying to pick winners here, and I'm going to go with Minnesota United. They have won 7 of their last 10 games, and they are looking like a team that is ready to make a run for a trophy. Meanwhile, Dallas's offense has struggled to score goals. So, is this the game that Jesus Ferreira and the Dallas offense finally get back to scoring 2, 3, 4 goals? I don't think so in an away match to Minnesota. I'm picking the Loons, Minnesota United for the win. Next matchup, the Columbus Crew are hosting the Chicago Fire. Now, the Chicago Fire, they're practically dead, but every time you write them off, they give you just a little bit of hope to come back and keep watching them. Kind of like most Chicago sports teams do. That's how they keep us coming back every year. But you've got the Columbus Crew who have Cucho Hernandez, Lucas Zelarayan, and an experienced lineup, not to mention the coach who trained Ezra Hendrickson, the Chicago's manager, Caleb Porter at the Crew, and with them giving that slight edge on the home field, I'm going to take the odds favorite on this one and pick the Columbus Crew. They're at minus 110. Again, the Fire are as likely to win this game at plus 280 as they are to draw at plus 275. So I don't think that bodes well for anyone picking the Fire, and they've had a very poor run of form lately. The next matchup, 2 of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, New York Red Bulls, are hosting the Philadelphia Union. Now, the favorite here is the Red Bulls at plus 140, but the Union are sitting at plus 185. Now, typically when I can't figure out which team to pick, because we see how great Philadelphia has been lately, just scoring touchdowns worth of goals here, but then you've got Red Bull who are coming off of a win, and they had an excellent 3-1 victory over Miami last weekend. Maybe they're getting their legs back. Maybe that press is starting to work, and it typically does against the Union. So I'm torn. I don't have a lot of confidence in this one. So what I do is I'm going to end up taking the draw in this game. Our next matchup, FC Cincinnati hosting Charlotte FC. Now, Charlotte has been pretty poor on the road all season, and it looks like the expansion season is finally catching up with them, and they're starting that late downturn away from the playoff line even further. FC Cincinnati, in the meantime, has a Golden Boot candidate in Brandon Vasquez and a couple of great all-star players. They are really pushing to get in. I'm going to pick them. Again, they are the favorite here at minus 130. Next matchup, Nashville SC is hosting Austin FC. This is a really interesting game. Nashville is the favorite at minus 105 because they're the home team coming off of, I think, a 3-0 victory, and previous to that, a 4-0 victory. Nashville's finding a bit of a groove, but that doesn't mean that Austin can't match them goal for goal. So this game, I'm not too confident betting Nashville as the favorite, but you could look to bet the over if you can find out what the line is, because there are goals to be had in this game. And again, because I'm not too confident and Nashville getting the bump at home, I'm going to end up picking the draw personally on this one at plus 275. Next matchup, a couple of playoff hopefuls, Portland Timbers hosting Atlanta United. Now, I think Portland has a better shot of making the playoffs than Atlanta, and them being at home is going to give them a huge edge, and they are the favorites at plus 105, and I'm going to take them at plus 105. Atlanta had a really tough game against bottom feeder DC United last weekend, and Portland ends up winning Cascadia Cup. Hopefully they don't have a bit of a hangover from beating rival Seattle and winning the Cascadia Trophy this year, but I am taking Portland in this one as the home favorite. The next match up, a battle of a couple teams north of the border. Toronto FC is hosting CF Montreal, and Toronto is now the favorite despite Montreal being the second place team in the Eastern Conference. Toronto fighting for that playoff spot, but we all know that this is a different team since those summer signings came in, since the Italians have showed up. This might be a game where you want to bet the over as well, but Toronto FC is the favorite. However, I just can't pick them. I just don't trust their defense. And with Mihailovic, Kone, and crew playing well, I'm going to go with the draw on this one. That's my personal pick because I'm not very confident in either of these teams. Now, additionally, Toronto FC is near and dear to SOP because our founder and our producer, Mike, and my fellow host, is a huge Reds fan, right? He is TFC till he dies. The tattoo on his shoulder says so, or on his arm says so. So you got to take what I say with a grain of salt because I got a soft spot for TFC as well. Now, the next matchup on PointsBet is DC United versus Colorado. DC's the home team. I think that's giving them a little bit of a bump here because they're at plus 140, the favorite, and Colorado is at plus 175 as the away team. This one, I am picking Colorado on the road. Usually you can find some value on 2 or 3 games every week in MLS with a road dog. And in this case, I think Colorado is it. DC, no matter what they try, they cannot win games. Taxi Fountas, their striker, was injured, and I doubt he'll be playing in this game, if not the rest of the season. And the Colorado Rapids are still fighting for that playoff spot. I'll give the Rapids the edge and take them in this matchup. Next, we have the Los Angeles Galaxy hosting Sporting Kansas City. Again, this is one of those weird games because we've seen Sporting Kansas City come back and have a 4-1 victory recently and then a 1-0 victory over San Jose. They're beating up on some of these bottom teams. But the LA Galaxy, similar to TFC, but not as extreme, are a different team with Riqui Puig, their latest signing from Barcelona. He's going to unlock the Sporting Kansas City defense. I think Chicharito is going to be getting back into some form, especially after last week. You know how he scores in bunches. I am picking the Galaxy, even though they are the heavy favorites at minus 140, picking them over Kansas City. Next matchup, New England Revolution hosting New York City FC. The Revs struggling to make a run into the playoffs, especially if that draw to Chicago holds tonight, Wednesday night. But somehow they are the favorites here at plus 140 as the home team. Looks like PointsBet really is favoring the home team, not so much talent or recent run of form. That's why I'm going to go with New York City as the road dog. A slight dog at plus 175. Nevertheless, I think they're going to win this one. Now we start looking at some Western Conference games. Seattle Sounders hosting Houston Dynamo. Take the Sounders. They're at home. They still think they can make the playoffs, but they have a lot of work to do. And Houston is one of the worst teams in the Western Conference. So take Seattle at home. Moving on, the San Jose Earthquakes versus the Vancouver Whitecaps. San Jose's getting the home team odds at minus 108 against Vancouver's plus 275. This one is tough. This is going to actually be my upset pick of the weekend. I'm going with the road Vancouver Whitecaps here because I just think, well, you know what? Let me take that back because Cavallini in this game is going to be suspended for a terrible, terrible stomp on another player. I think it was his head. Go back and find that. So without Cavallini, I'm going to change my pickup here. Without Cavallini and San Jose kind of feeling, a little better at home, I'm going to stick with San Jose. I don't think Vancouver's got the offense without Cavallini. Let's stick with San Jose. And then we have LAFC hosting Real Salt Lake to wrap up the weekend. LAFC, bet them until they hit a losing streak, right? They're the best team in MLS as far as record and points go. They're the second highest scoring team in the league behind Austin. Bet LAFC. They're only bringing on more and more players as the weeks come on, as they integrate these guys. That might be the only way RSL takes advantage of it, is if we start to see wholesale subs by LAFC in the 45th, 55th, 60th minute or so. That just kind of changes the dimension of the game. But still, you don't bet against LAFC. Now, also, I kind of wanted to mention a few other some of the people we've been interacting with in the comment section, and we would love to hear from you about your different strategies and things that you look for when you bet MLS. So we have seen strategies ranging from 3-game and 5-game parlays where you pick the 3 heaviest favorites, and that's a way you can turn what would be meager winnings if you picked individually into bigger winnings on the parlay. Or you have to make sure that you're looking at those over-unders, right? How many goals are going to be scored? Because this has been, I don't know the numbers on the whole season, but there have been some record-setting offensive weekends in MLS as of late. So if you can key in on some of these high-scoring matchups, just like last week's Austin LAFC game, or if you can key in on some favorites to put in a 3-game parlay, those are some of the strategies that our viewers have talked about in the comment section. So if you have an alternate strategy, or if you agree with it, let us know in the comments below. Let us know how you're playing, what you're looking for. And again, with all the midweek games happening today that are going on, that are just ending as I'm recording this video, make sure that you look at travel schedules. Make sure that you look at roster rotations and injury reports up to even an hour or two before the game when those rosters are actually released. Because as we know, the MLS does not issue like official injury reports, mandated by the league X number of days or hours before, like we typically see with the NBA or the NFL. Now, with that, if you want to continue to support our channel, I ask that you leave us a super chat or a super thanks via YouTube. If you'd like to think of other ways to donate, or if you would like to become a sponsor of this show, please email us at sonsofapitchsoccer@gmail.com, or you can direct message us on Twitter at SOPsoccer. Let me put up my picks here for you one more time. And remember, I'm changing the San Jose Vancouver pick to San Jose in light of Cavallini's red card and impending suspension. So please keep that in mind. I still don't have much confidence in San Jose, Vancouver, because those are a couple teams who are trending in the wrong direction. But without Cavallini, I don't think Vancouver has the offense, and I'll give San Jose the edge at home, as the odds makers at PointsBet have done. So with that, I want to thank you all. We'll do a quick recap. My winners this weekend: Minnesota, Columbus, Cincinnati, Portland, Colorado, the Galaxy, NYCFC, Seattle, San Jose, not Vancouver, I'm changing my pick, and LAFC. I've got draws for Red Bulls Philly, for Austin Nashville, and Montreal Toronto, and that's mostly because I really can see those games as a coin flip, and I just can't commit to one team and feel confident about it. So that's why I'm picking the draws there. So with that, I want to thank you all. Thanks to everyone who's watched, commented, liked, subscribed, followed us along on Twitter, and genuinely has a great conversation in the chats. We thank you all, and we will see you next week.